so fast that Zion pretty much has to make more units. He can't really afford to power and get more drones. So I'm actually pulling slowly ahead in the economy. So this build looks a little bit weird. It looks like I pull way ahead in the unit count early on, and that he has to defend, and we're both sort of staying even. And then after he defends, it almost looks like he's at an advantage. It almost looks like he's about to snap forward. But because I skipped my forge and got my core up so fast, I can get 5 warp gates like immediately and begin pumping out a lot of units. And then suddenly that really cuts into Zerg's ability to power. So just keeping Zerg down, just punching his head into the ground. That's exactly what this build is designed to do. So really, honestly, this is pretty much going to be a play I'm going to be experimenting around with pretty much 100% of my Protoss vs. Zergs. And of course, I'm used to the timing on all the immortal styles. I know the periods of threat that I can exploit with that. So this is really fun for me because I know that Zerg's actually probably feeling a little bit weak. Again, going to the production tab, he has to make almost all units here. So try to do some force fields just to pick off some units here. I do okay, I think, not phenomenally by any means. And oh god! I like just ran out of force field. Like, I'm actually, yeah, and there's the last force field going down. How is that possible? Yeah, it looks like I didn't quite have enough energy. I really wanted to pick off that queen. I really should have been able to pick that off. But I'm making primarily stalkers here just to control this choke a little bit better. And notice that, hey, that Twilight Council that I wanted to get earlier for those Zealot with leg speed, cool. Alright, nice. I can get that up. I'm not having to worry about getting that robotics facility in the way, cutting that right out of the business. I also... yeah, it looks like I also have +1, so now I can get +2 thanks to my Twilight Council being finished. Don't quite have the gas to do that yet, but still getting right in there, and look at all these Hydralisks he has to make. And again, I'm going to go back to this unit counting station. Notice how much more I'm pulling ahead in terms of workers. He still is at 37 drones, and I am just slowly getting more and more guys. I'm really trying to pull him back to about here, where I can throw down 3 force fields and block them off. Trying to get up here, maybe pick off an Overlord, and I do one of the most epic misclicks of all time in just a minute here, so get ready, get pumped for that. And now here's something a little bit interesting. If this, for instance, was Steps of War or something like that, I would be able to stick with these 5 gateways, and then I'd be able to get an expansion up somewhere like here or something. But because I don't really like this positioning, it's like super wide open. It's very difficult to even defend this and your main at the same time. You pretty much have to have absolute control of your main rock, of your main entrance, and this entrance over here. So this felt risky. So what I actually end up doing is I just plant down 3 gateways. I'm just going to be going 8 gateways off 2 bases. Just really crazy pressure off 2 bases, and then eventually get a 3rd. Just try to force him to delay his 3rd as well. And so normally I keep the resource tab up, but I still want you to note how many more probes I have and how I'm slowly pulling ahead. And then of course he has a ton of Hydralisks and he has a huge concave, so I'm just begging for him to get a little bit farther forward. I do end up picking off 1. Maybe a little excessive to throw down that many force fields, but now I'm going, oh yeah, I can get Graviton Shield. So I go ahead and do that. Is it called Graviton Shield? Guardian Shield. Graviton Shield. Yes, getting Graviton Shield. Fantastic. We're actually playing Transformers here. Still staying pretty even in food, but I'm liking my position quite a bit more. I'm getting my +2. I'm getting Templar. Oh, cool. I got to completely skip that. And here's my misclick. I just hit the walk button. So whoopsie daisies. Drop about 15 food there. Less than ideal, don't do that. And I notice it and just go, okay, let me just not lose right here. So I throw down the force fields there. And now finally I'm getting to warp in High Templar. But I don't know if any of you have felt this before, but High Templar just suck without this Kadarin amulet, without the extra energy boost. And my money actually starts to get really high because I stop making probes and I begin making just warp gate units. And I'm macroing reasonably well this game, but still just cannot quite keep my money low. And finally he gets that key amount of units to be able to bust in here. My High Templar just still don't have enough energy, so I'm not able to really storm. My Zealots trying to get in there, but of course Hydra is just so strong. And after that huge misclick where I lost about 8 or 9 Stalkers, a little bit hard. So I do throw down 2 Storms. A little bit of going at a business party there for my Templar. But either way, I sent 1 Zealot here, and I was delighted to see that he had not taken his 3rd base yet, so that was something that I accomplished, that I felt a little bit proud of. A little shaky here. I think I should have gotten my Templar a little bit faster, and I am just shocked at how much money I have. I am trying as hard as I can. I'm macroing my little heart out, but just can't quite seem to keep the money down. But either way, now notice how similar this was to the previous game that we saw. For any of you who just tuned in, we saw an embarrassing game between myself and Zion where I tried to make a little bit too many adjustments that weren't really flowing very well with my play. And here I am up at 2,000 minerals. I'm aware of it. I'm clicking the buttons as fast as I can. Something just went a little bit wrong there with my macro. But, you know, right up to this attack, let's just pause and note some things. So if we go to the unit tab, still I'm way ahead on the worker count. He has not had the opportunity to even begin taking down these destructible rocks because I've been in his face. So in a sense, I have really hindered his economy, not just by this directly, but by indirectly preventing him from taking the money expo soon. But this force is really strong, and this is a bit of brilliance by Zion. He started off making a lot of Hydralisks, which I think is pretty standard nowadays. I mean, Idra really demonstrated the force of just big Hydra numbers, and of course Artosis, if you watch his stream as well, does a great job with mass Hydralisks. But if you were putting pressure on your opponent, like getting really up in his face, replenish with Roaches, because they're cheap, they're easy to get, they're very, very fast cross-map, especially if you have those creep tumors and the Overlord vomiting down, which of course Zion does, which is just great. But thanks again to the fact that I have $1 million and I'm warping in as many Zealots as I can. Really, Zealots with charge end up doing wonders against these Roaches and these Hydralisks. And finally, now that I have enough to storm, I can do a really good job just annihilating this force and just getting so many Zealots. I was feeling pretty damn cool. And uh-oh, looks like he is slowly winning, but no, Warp Gates are a little bit too awesome for that. I thought about making an Archon, and then I decided that I would run the risk of making an Archon, so I didn't do that. They were buffed in the most recent patch, so ooh, you can now get them in 12 seconds instead of 17, so they very quickly can pop onto the battlefield and get embarrassed. But now I'm replenishing a few more Stalkers now that there are more Roaches out. Stalkers will stay alive a lot longer because the Zealots with charge get in his face a lot more easily, but I'm kind of liking this. The way that this 8 Warp Gate thing feels, I really could have gotten these 3 Warp Gates much faster, could have gotten this Templar Archives much faster, but I'm still very excited about the way that it turned out for this first time. But now is when the game becomes epic. It's no longer educational, it's me going, yeah! So, despite the fact that I was in Hero Hold mode for a little bit, popping right back into business, thanks to that Templar upgrade, oh my god, that's such a lifesaver. Literally, you can just get 2 production cycles of units and be instantly back in business. So I moved down here to clear things out. Doesn't look like I'm upgrading, probably feeling a little bit frightened at this point. So I'm moving over here to eliminate my destructible rocks, make sure I can get that expo up. And look at Zion. So, despite that very scary early bust that he did in the back, despite the fact that he moved down with Hydralisks and killed off all my stuff, he's in the same position I am. He needs a 3rd base up, and I'm actually getting mine up significantly faster than he is. So I'm now warping in plenty more units, planning on doing a big offensive here. I'm warping in Zealots, and I like the placement of this. Instead of warping in Zealots here, which would regroup with my army faster, I warp in Zealots here, so that way, if there were units here, they would get trapped by my Zealots and not be able to run up, and then when I regroup, I would still come with the Zealots anyways. So I like this little positioning, regrouping here, and then I want to attack up through the middle, because again, it defends this expo. Moving right here, look, blocks any of his units from getting up here to my gold expansion. And there was an Overlord there that I could have killed, and I didn't, and I have no good reason why. So now I'm feeling a little bit impressed with myself. Of course, he comes in with a bunch of Banelings, and I try to storm them, don't quite manage to take them off, but they just annihilated my Zealots real fast. So I try to do some fancy micro my Templar falls. And again, feeling a little bit, not feeling too good with myself, but of course when you have 8 Warp Gates, you can snap back into business super fast. Where do I end up warping in my units? Maybe it looks like I don't end up warping them in. Oh yeah, I waited for this pylon to finish before I began warping them in here. Again, I wanted to just regroup before I did anything. And Templar, very, very awesome unit. Psionic Storm. He still hasn't gotten his expansion up, which I love. This is why I love these big, aggressive plays, because you can just be so in your opponent's face. And of course, throwing down more storms. Yeah, awesome. Really need a pylon up here. Really, really. That's actually kind of inexcusable, having no pylon here. I mean, I had one over here, but... And of course, he does more surround. Zion really getting in my face. Not very ahead on upgrades. That was another effect of the 2-gate into 5-gate pressure that I did early on. He really didn't quite have the money to get 2 evolution chambers the way Zerg normally does. And I'm happily warping in up here. He just doesn't quite have enough to get in there. by some miracle, and I end up transferring my probes on time, and I'm getting my gas up, and then I'm going, oh yeah, I really can kill overlords, can I? So I do. Taking them down. Still, I'm feeling like I'm in the uphill battle situation, but of course, I love spamming, so the 8 warp gates are going to help me quite a bit. And one thing to note, I am not quite used to how much money gold expansions give you yet with Protoss. So I really start surging ahead, despite the fact that I'm building my little heart out. And of course, he just starts doing more busts in here. This is a really great move by him, because he pushed me back here. I knew that I had to defend it. He knew I had to defend that top expansion. So he just darts right into my main. And of course, I warp in Templar here. Nice little defense. I have to regroup my army. I want to cut any reinforcements in half and sort of trap these units here. I don't want to allow them to retreat. And of course, it ends up costing me a forge and a cybernetics core. But in the meantime, I'm expanding.